good, everybody? Welcome back to Bain Break It Down Forex. It's your boy Big Bain in this thing. You guys guessed it, another week, another opportunity for us to make some money in the Forex market. So let's get right to it. All right, boom, over on the dollar, guys. This is going to be a pretty interesting week, to say the least, because um, what's going on with the dollar is definitely going to determine a lot on what's going to happen with the metals, what's going to happen with the indices, as well as the major pairs. So let me try to break this down for you guys and pay attention because we have a really good setup on the way. Basically, the dollar was rising, right? And now it is decided to do a retracement or a correction, right? Or a pullback, however you guys, identify with it. But basically, again, we broke this high, we made these new highs, then we started falling, and there was liquidity behind this trend line. So we gapped down, we got that liquidity, and now we're just kind of consolidating. All right. So basically, from last week, here it is Monday of last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All those days we dropped on the dollar, which I told you guys we would. All right. But now we're stuck in the middle, right? Between potentially rising, right? And potentially having a continuation to the downside. So simply, however this plays out, is going to be very critical. All right. So because we were dropping all last week, right, and we started to consolidate, and it looks like we just swept the low of Thursday and we closed inside of the Thursday's range, right, the high and the low of Thursday. So what that tells me is that when we begin the week, we most likely are going to rise, all right, to fill this gap, possibly touch this trend line, possibly even get up to this area of supply before dropping back down, right, or just continuously rising, right. These are, there's a lot of scenarios on the table right now for what the dollar can possibly do because of its market structure. All right. So again, overall, it was bullish. This liquidity sweep behind this trend line down to the support area to where now price is consolidating could be the point of interest, right, that we rise from. Okay. So we'll have to just wait it out and see, right, if Monday shows a candle that breaks above Friday's high or Thursday's high, then for the most part we're definitely going to continue rising. But if Monday's candle shows like it tried to do a liquidity sweep behind, try to go and get more liquidity that's sitting in this fair value gap right here, right, maybe it pushes down a little further, taps into this demand, and then rises. Okay. So it's going to be waiting as per usual to see what the dollar looks like on Monday, right, to see how we want to go about the rest of the week, because it's going to be a blockbuster week. If you ask me, again, this past week was supposed to be, but it doesn't really look like the news from Friday did the dollar any justice. It did push down a little bit, but it wasn't that significant push that we thought we were going to get. All right. So coming into this week, we may have that blockbuster moment. All right. So again, guys, on the dollar, it's very mixed, right? I can't call it bullish yet, and I can't call it bearish yet, right? I need to see a little bit more, and then I will definitely be able to pick a side. But if I had to, just pick one, I would say we'll probably go bullish as the week begins on the dollar. All right. So if the dollar rises, you guys know that things like EU will most likely drop, right? Dollar CAD, dollar CHF will most likely rise. Gold, silver will most likely drop. All right. And the indices also will most likely drop. All right. And again, that's if we get the rise. So be on the lookout for that. But if we don't get the rise, if it looks like we're starting to break support or reach for more liquidity, right, then that's the opposite scenario, right? The metals could rise, the indices could rise, right? The majors could rise, and we'll have to play that accordingly. But so far, right, the movement that we're getting on the dollar is the retracement, the correction, the pullback, right, to these points of interest. So ultimately, the dollar wants to be bullish, all right, wants to go bullish. Now, if that happens, indices crashing, right? If that happens, metals are crashing, right? If that happens, the majors are crashing. So you'll see, that I'm lining you guys up right now for the potential crash. All right, we just got to see once again how dollar reacts around these support areas or these point of interest, which is basically the support in the demand area. If we see price pushing into this, and then or pushing into here, and then we're starting to get bulls to show up, you better load up, because it's going to be a blockbuster event. All right, but for now I'm going to go bullish on the dollar, but anything's possible when the week begins. So I'll wait it out to see if I actually get a bull candle to paint higher than Friday or Thursday's candles, and if so, then I'll know that I have a chance of or there'll be a chance of the dollar rising a bit more, right? It may come here, it may come here, it may come here or here, right? But on that rise, I'll be able to take advantage of what I need to on the metals, the indices, or the majors. All right, guys, so I'm gonna go bullish on the dollar, but we really got to pay attention to how it maneuvers when the week begins. All right, moving over to JPY. JPY had a major drop, all right, breaking structure to the downside and closing below Thursday's low on Friday, making price go way lower. So the expectations is that we're supposed to continue falling, right, as candles are breaking lower and lower. But you guys can't see it here from the daily, so we'll have to go to the 1 hour time frame, and you guys will see that we sort of found a floor. All right, it wasn't much, right, but we got just a little bit of a candlestick pattern that has given us a floor on the JPY. So with that, we do have the cycle where we broke this low, right? We made this new low, all right? And so we're probably going to begin the retracement up, all right? And we do have this trend line where we have buy side liquidity that price most likely is going to go and seek before it starts to completely start rising. All right, also this is our strong supply area here that we really need to get above before we can say that JPY is going to rise. So we need price to get above this area, all right, and then come back to it, respecting it in some way, shape, or form. And then if we get some bulls, that's going to be what we need to succeed, because we'll then have a change of character from breaking this high. We'll have a new high, and then we'll have a higher low, right? This is all part of the beginning of new uptrend structure. All right, so at that point, that's when you guys want to be looking to sell your JPY pairs, all right, and then take advantage of that. So on the JPY, it is still bearish, all right, where it can still just kind of reach into the supply and continue to drop, and the JPY pairs can continue to rise if this happens. But if we break above this strong high, making a new high and then a higher low, chances are JPY is going to rise and our JPY pairs are going to fall. All right, guys, so please be on the lookout for that, because JPY is setting up for a potential rise that can really pay a whole lot of pips on those JPY pairs. All right, guys, moving over to dollar. All right, so again, I told you I'm bullish on the dollar initially, right, but it can open up and drop. So it's just a matter of waiting to see the dollar show its hand and what it really wants to do. But the way that the odd dollar is looking right now is looking very bearish. All right, we've pushed up to this level of supply, and it looks like we do have bearish divergence from what the RSI shows. So chances are we're going to get a nice drop on dollar. Now, if the dollar happens to fall a little bit, right, first, then that means the odd dollar is going to rise a bit, probably get a little deeper into supply, possibly sweeping this liquidity and maybe even tapping into this supply area that sits right above this one. So we'll get a little deeper like that, and then eventually we'll go to falling. All right. So watch out for that if you're looking to sell dollar. Don't just sell it here first, right? Even if you do, if you have your stop above here or potentially this high, you're going to survive, this extra push up before it decides to fall. So there's no harm in selling it, right away. Just make sure that you're covering yourself for any potential, extra push up. All right. But as it stands right now, right, it's giving a lot of bearish vibes. So we just want to, see if we can capitalize off that when the week begins, especially if the dollar rises right out the gate. This is an easy play, getting it down to the previous week low for 190 pips. It's almost 200 pips on a standard lot. You're looking at $2,000 off a very simple move on dollar. All right, guys, get your head in the game, because again, the setups are here, and this is how you make the money, taking advantage of them. All right, bearish on dollar. Moving over to euro dollar, same exact thing, all right, as the rest of the majors. But as you can see here, it looks like we have a little bit more pushing up to do. So this is giving me vibes that dollar could fall, right, allowing euro dollar to push up to the supply zone before the dollar begins to rise, and then euro completely tanks back down. Okay, so like I mentioned, it's not going to be, clear cut right away. You probably just need to give it a day. Right after Monday, you'll probably have a better idea of what price is going to do, because it's either going to be in the supply zone or it's going to be below, it's going to be lower. So given that, right, you'll know how to play it from there. All right, so I am bearish on euro dollar, but I do believe it's going to rise first. All right, potentially, right, to tap into the supply before falling, but it can absolutely just fall from right where it is. So it's always, a situation where you're having to make a tough decision. But the best, this is a tough decision because we know that it can fall. But the best decision is always just waiting for it to get to a point of interest. From right here, this is not really showing us that there was tremendous selling. All right, yes, we do have selling from here, right, pressure, but from this supply area, we completely drop. All right, so it's a different, it's different. All right, and determining what are the better areas to potentially sell from if you're going to sell, and that would be this high point, which is at a premium. And let's just face it, anything that you want to sell, right, you want to sell it for a high price, right? You don't want to sell it for a low price, which is where price is now. From this, right, it's lower than the supply. So selling it here, you're not really selling it at the best price, right, where you can get more bang for your buck. So if you want to get more bang for your buck, sell it from supply, sell it from the high. Sell high, buy low. All right, name of the game. So I am bearish on euro dollar once again, but waiting to see if it taps into supply, because if it does, then I'm definitely going to be, put in a good position on and looking to make roughly 300 points or pips on euro dollar. Again, standard lot, that's 3 bands. All right, moving over to pound dollar, same exact thing. All right, except pound dollar has a major level of resistance, if you will, and there's liquidity behind each one of these swing highs that we're seeing that have been painted. So that's a situation where, again, we can sweep all of that liquidity, right, and then begin to drop. So again, a bit of a supply area sitting above this one, and it can go and reach into that, right, before completely dropping back down. So you guys got to be patient, and at least give the charts a day to give you more price action. That way you'll be able to make a better, more high probability decision on any one of these trades. All right, but on GU, looking for a bit of a liquidity sweep of the weekly high, the liquidity behind the supply zone, and possibly tapping into supply above it before dropping. All right, but it could just drop, and maybe I'll miss out, maybe I won't, right? But I'm overall bearish. So if I see anything where price is starting to break lows, I'm going to be selling, and I'm going to make some money. All right, so this is how we're going to play GU. All right, I'm bearish. Over to New Zealand dollar, I don't think I need to explain, but we broke the low, made the new low. Here's our retracement back up to our point of interest. We also have bearish divergence that the RSI is telling us these two highs are making higher highs, RSI is making lower highs. So it's just screaming that it wants to now continue to fall. All right, this is our run, this is all our pullback. So now we're in the phase where we're going to go and do the run again, going to break these lows. New Zealand dollar, I am bearish. All right, moving over to dollar CAD, and when you guys look at dollar CAD on the daily, all right, it looks very bullish now, right? So we did break above this high, we made a new high, we started retracing, my team caught that, right? But now we're getting into this area of demand. So again, it gives the vibes that the dollar will fall, right? And then the dollar will rise. So, you know, when we were looking at the dollar, it had two demand areas, or a support in the demand area. Price can go to those, right? And the week begins, causing dollar CAD to fall, right? And then causing, you know, it can rise from there, causing dollar CAD to rise. So we're just going to have to be, you know, very mindful of how the dollar moves initially, to really set ourselves up for really good plays on these majors, these metals, and these indices. All right, guys. So dollar CAD, I am bullish, but I'm seeing it fall first to sweep the previous week low, tap into demand, and then take off. All right, so watch out for that, right? The drop first and then potentially the rise later. Okay, dollar CHF, again, I told you guys to sell it last week. We made 137 or 31 pips. It's finally reached this support area and it's giving rejection. So again, there's a possibility that we can go and take the previous week low, just push down a little bit further, right? There's a fair value gap here. Maybe we'll do, you know, a major drop to here, maybe even touch this trend line. It is a possibility before we go rising once again. So, you know, looking at this, you know, that is one of the scenarios that I'll be looking for. But also, because we're already rejecting the support area and we've closed back within the range of Thursday, we could easily just begin to rise right out the gate. So it's going to be a very tricky, you know, situation when the week begins. One that you have to give time for the dollar to show its hand. That way you can really take advantage. All right, bullish on dollar CHF, but watching out for a little bit of a drop or some kind of liquidity grab before it rises. If it doesn't happen, it's all good, right? But if it starts to take off, especially if it's starting to break highs like Thursday's high, I will be taking a buy on dollar CHF. That's how that's going to go. All right, over to dollar JPY. Now dollar JPY looks very bearish. All right, so again, we broke the high, made the new high, we started the retracement, but you know, we didn't really break below this low, so technically we're still bullish. All right, but it started to give these lower highs and then these lower lows. And if we look at it from the 4-hour time frame, right, it looks very bearish. All right, so we broke this low, made the new low, retraced, and we're getting into the supply area. So it looks like it's going to fall. So if the dollar is, or the dollar JPY is going to fall, then that definitely tells me that initially, right, the dollar may fall, right? Just coming out the gate, it may go and push down to that support and demand area again before rising, right? I am bullish long term throughout the week on the dollar, just seeing, you know, when it gets to those demand areas, how it's going to react. But for now, it looks like the dollar from the JPY standpoint could easily fall, right? It can push up a little bit first, right? But then it looks like it wants to fall. So it's going to be very tricky, guys, to, you know, really try to capitalize off of, you know, the majors, the metals, and the indices by, you know, waiting to see what the dollar is going to truly give us. All right, but if you wait, I promise you it'll be the best thing ever. All right, because you'll get the perfect entry, right? You'll get the momentum and the volatility behind it, and you won't need to have a whole lot of trades. You can just take one or two, and that'll get you right for the week. All right, guys, I'm bearish on dollar JPY, watching out for a potential push into supply before it drops. All right, bearish on UJ. Over to pound odd. This is textbook for a buy. We broke the high, made a new high, retraced all the way to our demand area, and we're starting to rise from there. There may be another, attempt at sweeping Thursday or Friday's low, maybe possibly even the previous week low before rising, but we're definitely ready to rise from this point of interest. So I'll be looking to take pound all long up to this particular area for 350 pips to the upside. I'm bullish. All right, pound CAD. All right, pound CAD looks more bearish. Right, we've had a nice rise up into the supply area, but we didn't quite get into it. So I think we're going to push up a little more, get middle way, possibly sweeping the actual swing high, and then potentially getting a drop from there. All right, so on pound CAD, I'm looking for a little bit of a rise and then ultimately a major drop. All right, over to pound CHF. This is ugly. I'm not doing anything with it whatsoever, even though I think it's probably going to go and take out the swing high. But I do not like this structure. It's very tight. It's not, you don't see a lot of momentum behind it. The structure is very choppy. And again, this is just a nightmare to trade. So as much as we're, looking for trades to take and things like that, where we see good setups and we want to make sure that we, pay attention to those, you guys also need to know about the bad setups, right? Or charts that don't really have, what you need to succeed, and you don't waste your time on it, right? You just skip it and go on to something that looks better. All right, but pound CHF is garbage, not doing anything. If I had to choose, I would say that it'll be bullish, maybe drop into this fair value gap and then rise to take out that high, but I'm not going to trade it at all, guys. All right, moving over to pound New Zealand. Now, I told you guys last week on pound New Zealand there was a major trend line on this, and if you guys followed just last week's watch list, I'm telling you what it is. And I said we can go and get the liquidity sitting behind this trend line. So all last week we dropped, we broke the low, made the new low. Now we're retracing into these point of interest. So most likely what's going to happen is we're going to get a rise out of pound New Zealand to one of these points of interest, maybe touching the trend line, maybe sweeping the weekly high, and then after that, timber. All right, so again, what I provisioned last week played out on the drop. We're getting the correction possibly now, right? Again, it may not get all the way this high and get to this supply and then just drop from there, right? So you have to know how to read how the candles are reacting at the zones in order to take advantage of it, right? Instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to wait for it to get here because it may not get here. All right, that's the thing. But on pound New Zealand, we got a great opportunity for it to just tap into one of those points of interest and then start eating away at the liquidity sitting behind the trend line at all of these lows to the downside, guys. Really, really great opportunity. Try not to miss out. Pound New Zealand, I am bearish. All right, moving over to GJ. Now, again, GJ has broke this high, and let me get it from the daily. All right, so again, all last week, GJ really was just, taking off because there was liquidity to the upside that it wanted to get, right? There was some behind these equal highs, there was some behind these equal highs, and then there's this swing point that it got up to. So that's what GJ did, right? The JPY kept falling, and JPY pairs kept rising. So now we're at these overbought areas and these supply areas with GJ, to where we can start to see price come back down or give some kind of correction to the downside, right? And if we get to where we broke, we're looking at 100 pips. If we get a little deeper, 200, so forth and so forth. But I'm definitely looking for the JPY or GJ to drop as I'm looking for the JPY to rise, but I need to wait for that confirmation on GJ or JPY for it to be bullish, and then I'll be taking my selling opportunity on GJ. But for the time being, it can still rise to kind of grab this liquidity before it actually wants to drop. All right, so on GJ, I am bearish, but just need some time for it to play out. All right, over to silver. So again, because the dollar is mixy, right? So is silver. All right, it looks like we have a rising pennant, rising wedge, if you will. That is a bearish reversal chart pattern, right? Maybe a bearish flag, bearish pennant, right? There's so many names, but Silver doesn't look super bullish right now. It definitely looks more bearish than anything. But if the dollar drops, silver can rise. All right, so we look at it from a lower time frame. Okay, now what you guys are seeing is that this is a very mixy situation. So dollar falls, we can see silver rise into supply, right? And then as the dollar reaches its point of interest, its demand area, and it starts to rise, we can see silver start to fall, which is exactly what this chart pattern is all about, right? So, buying from here because we think silver is going to go up is not a good idea. You want to buy from here or you want to buy from here, right? So this is no man's land. So this is why you have to wait, right? If you wait, if silver just happens to push up, well, then now you're in a better position to look for that selling opportunity on silver that will play out or line up with what this chart pattern says that it's supposed to do. All right, so that'll give you a boatload of money if you're able to take advantage of the sell if the dollar is rising from demand. When we get into the market opening next week, all right, that is going to be a really great trade. You just gotta give it some time and just be ready, right? So that is one potential. All right, the other potential is that silver can drop first. All right, so we'll get silver to come down to this demand area, right? Respect it, right? And again, there's some liquidity here, so it may do a little extra something, right? And then start to rise. So, how do you know, right? How do you know what it's going to do, right? We're not psychic in that sense that we just know. We know because of what the dollar shows, right? That's what we go by, technical analysts, all right? Seeing what the charts are giving us and, playing things accordingly that have probability more on our side than it doesn't. All right, so very mixed on silver, right? We can get the push up and then a major drop down to the swing low, or maybe we can just get the drop down first. You never know, right? We could also get it to here and then begin to rise. Never know, right? So there's a few scenarios that can play out on silver, which makes it to where you need to sit on your hands and wait for things to be a lot clearer. This is in no man's land. We sell from supply areas and demand, or we buy from demand areas. So wait until price gets into these areas, then you make a move. It'll be a lot smoother. All right, so undecided on silver, but it's looking pretty bearish for now. All right, moving over to gold. And on gold, we have a nice rising channel, which is a bearish reversal pattern, right? But we're sitting, towards this demand area. So we can tap into demand and we can rise back up, right, to supply. And then from supply, we can drop, right? This is all very, very mixy, and you're going to have to be extremely patient, right, to get the best setup, the best entry on these metals. All right, guys, if you just buy it here, right, it's not really in the demand area. It hasn't done any liquidity sweep or grabbing, right? So you can still get a lot of whiplash. It'll just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? You won't like that kind of a setup. Versus if it's in demand and then you're buying it with a tight stop, you can easily get that rise up to supply. Or vice versa, if it's at supply and it's starting to show you rejection and you sell it, you can easily make a lot of money from that supply coming back down to demand, lining up with what this chart is supposed to do, a bearish reversal chart pattern, and you can catch it from the supply all the way down to the swing low. That will get you paid on gold or silver, right, with that kind of a move. Okay, so again, it's going to be a major waiting game to see where gold is going to start to push initially and where it starts to respect after that, because that's when you're going to get the tattletale sign of exactly what it wants to do, and it'll be a lot clearer. All right, guys, so for now, undecided on gold, but the pattern is bearish, right? And we're in the middle, or we're near the bottom of this trend line. So that's where it can bounce from and go up. So it's just super hard to call it. So I'm gonna say undecided, but just give it a little time and it will become a lot, simpler to make a decision on which direction you want to take gold in. All right, guys, moving over to natural gas, and it kept falling, so it's near this support level, so it could sweep and then begin to rise, and you can get a good push up on natural gas. Again, it still has this wedge, right, or this falling wedge, if you will. All right, there, and a little something right about here. Okay, so potentially, again, bullish reversal pattern. It's just that we haven't gotten enough momentum to, just start breaking up out and going. But this is a very good place to buy from because it is at a discount, it's at a low price, and it's giving major opportunity for anyone who's looking to buy natural gas to, do so. All right, so I would be absolutely bullish on natural gas. Okay, moving over to oil. All right, oil gave us a major drop, right, on Tuesday, right? So bringing gas prices down, hallelujah, right? And giving us a little bit of a retracement, right? And nothing deep to, this area, but it did find like demand, so it could begin to rise once again. All right, but because of the liquidity sweep and the change from up to down, breaking this low and kind of staying lower, we can also see oil continue to push down, probably aiming for this liquidity, maybe this, and even the FEG in the demand area. So that is on the table with oil, right? Where again, things are very mixy. It can go either way. You can get a nice drop, or you can get a bit of a sweep and then a nice rise to fill this gap that it created on Tuesday. All right, so ultimately, guys, like it is all the time, right? We're just having to wait a little bit more to get what we need to succeed. All right, so oil is mixy. Because it dropped, I will say that maybe it's going to continue to fall, but there's also that possibility that it'll do the retracement before falling. So just be careful and watch out for it. All right, nice little supply area here that it may want to drop from, and again, if it does, guys, just try to take advantage. All right, market structure is king. Yes, the things going on with Trump and geopolitical situations will shake up everything, but if you just kind of keep it to what market structure is giving you, you really won't be disappointed like that. All right, because without all the extra stuff, market structure is typically going to be how you win. All right, mixed on oil, but I can see bullish and bearish, but I want to sell from here, and I potentially want to buy from any one of these lows that it happens to go to. All right, but I would like to see a sweep first, whether it's sell side or buy side, before making a decision. So right now, don't make a decision here. Let price do a little bit more painting, and from there you'll be able to make a very nice decision on oil. All right, moving over to SPY, and SPY looks very bearish, guys. All right, this is 3 hour. Let's go to the daily. All right, and you guys can see we got that nice rise. We changed structure or character here from down to up, got a nice push, heavy momentum, but you guys can see now the candles are losing momentum. Big candle, smaller, right? Doji, right? Sweeping this high, and now we could easily just open up where SPY drops, which gives the vibes that the dollar may rise right out the gate. Okay, so that's one scenario, but we got a little bit of liquidity sitting above this swing high, where it can probably push up to that if the dollar falls, right? And then again, when the dollar gets ready to rise, we can get a major drop on SPY. So I'm seeing a potential crash, or at least in the headlines, right, on the indices, because they're looking very, very bearish. On a lower time frame, there is liquidity to be got, right? So looking at SPY potentially doing a push up, getting buy side liquidity first to fuel the move down, to seek out this sell side liquidity and possibly even the swing low, which is also liquidity because of the equal lows. All right, so to me, I'm seeing a really great opportunity for a sell on SPY, just watching out for the potential push up before the drop, and that will really get you a nice position. All right, but bearish on SPY. All right, for NAS, again, same exact thing, right? I do see NAS pushing up a little more, potentially sweeping the liquidity from this high as the dollar may fall initially, right? So that's potential, and then from there we'll get that nice drop coming down to grab this sell side liquidity. Now, what if, you know, the dollar doesn't drop? What if the dollar rises? Well, we can get the drop right here, right now on NAS. So again, guys, it's going to be a matter of you knowing how to read market structure, but most importantly, just being patient and waiting for it to play its hand. That way you can take advantage of what you need to. All right, but potentially, you know, a little push up and then a drop on NAS. I'm overall bearish on the indices overall, so bearish on NAS. Last but not least, US 30, and again, you can see a bit of a demand area here that it can respect and then push up into supply and then potentially drop from there. So US 30 is not as bearish as SPY and NAS, but at the same token, guys, this doesn't mean everything, right? We can break past support and then just completely start to fall, right? There's other factors, you know, with, you know, Trump and, you know, how he is, that can easily make that happen. But if we're just going strictly off of technicals, then we have a potential for it to bounce from support, get into supply, and then turn around from supply and do a major drop down, right? So again, just wait to see how this is going to go. If you want to sell, wait for it to get in this area. If you want to buy, wait for it to get in this area, right? It's just that simple. Okay, but chances are, you know, with the way that it's looking technical wise, we got a major rise up and we're heading into a major supply. Last time we were here, we absolutely tanked. So I'll be looking for the same exact motion, if you will, once we get here again. All right, guys. So over 2,000 points, I'm sure, on US 30, right? That can really get you paid if you're able to take out a mini, micro, or standard lot on it. It's just ridiculous money. All right, no matter how you slice and dice it. So guys, please don't miss out. All right, tap in with me, right? Tell your friends, your family, everybody, like and subscribe, right? Comment in this, you know, put some comments in the comment section. Tell me what you're looking at, where you see a good setup, and you know what you're looking to take advantage of this week, because yeah, we got to get it. All right, but meantime, in between time, y'all know what it is. It's your boy. Peace.
Wanna get money? Wanna get paid? That's Forex. Like a sensei, then you know you gotta come and swing my way. And if you wanna fast forward, hit replay.